Hi everyone, welcome back in a brand new video of Biddy Being Loving. Yep, that is me. In today's video, I want to talk about the relationship between therianthropy and gender. For the specific video, actually the specific research survey thing and spread it on a lot of different Therian platforms such as Therian Guide, Therian, Facebook groups and even other forums and everything. We can also see this in the results because a lot of people seem to be between 13 and 15, but we even reached quite a lot of people between the age of 20 and 30 and even few around the 50s. We can also see that the amount of years known to be a Therian goes from 1 to 2 years to easily 5 to 10 years, so we reached a lot of people. You can also find the results of this research in the description down below, but first I want to give a general video about the relation between therianthropy and gender, so sit still and enjoy. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters Therianthropy, Carl Copier, Sana, Ruffled Griffon, Wolf Denden, Luca, Kazu and Kira. Patreon supporters get exclusive access to Patron-only videos, Patron-only blogs, early access, sneak peeks, work in progress and community works. All Patreon money is from the community to the community, so thank you so much. In general, we know that the Therian community has a lot of LGBT+ people, probably because when you're gay or transgender, you're more easily able to question yourself and to discover certain parts about yourself that may not be very usable or socially accepted. So then it isn't a very weird thought to think about being a Therian and questioning yourself to be a Therian. So caution, this video isn't meant to say that Therians have very similar experiences or the same experiences as LGBT+ people and should be an LGBT+ somehow, because we are not a sexuality, we are not a gender, we simply do not fit the label of LGBT+, so I do not try to claim this by this video. However, it's a very common sight to see in the Therian community. So many transgenders, so many LGBT+ people, so many people with specific gender experiences. What might be the relation between a gender experience and maybe even sexuality and therianthropy? Well, in general, I could say, depending on the research and my personal experience in the community, and as a transgender Therian myself, that gender and therianthropy and everything is very intertwined. And that isn't unusual, because therianthropy is a personal internal experience, most often described as identifying as an animal or having experiences of an animal, such as urges, instincts, behaviorisms, phantom limbs, and all the things we call shifting. One is its theriotype. One has experiences of this theriotype, so it's very personal. It is who you are. As much as I am creative and transgender, I am a Therian and transgender. And just as this creativity may influence my gender, or my gender my creativity, it will do so for my therianthropy. Everything is intertwined, everything will influence each other. Guys, and also for this video I will use gender not only in the social construct way, so the thing we make up, as in this belongs to a girl, this belongs to a male, but I also use another way of gender in here that is more related to characteristics of someone. How they behave, what they do, how they care for their kids, things we sociologically do related to gender. For example here, there is some study and footage of wolves having gender-related experiences perhaps. Females do certain things and males do certain things, and things that aren't necessarily assigned to hormones or whatever physical parts they have on their body. So there are sociological genders observed in animals like wolves, and likewise as humans, some of those wolves have swept. So a physical female wolf may have characteristics, behaviorisms, or urges that usually only male wolves have. This is also meant when I use gender in the form of an animal and not a human. A way that therianthropy might influence gender and gender therianthropy is that the theritype can have a gender, or people at least claim that the theritype can have a gender. Because of course there's a huge debate on this, but in general there are people who say no, you identify as a species and not an individual animal, and some people say, well, I might have had a past life as an animal and still have experiences of this, and experiences from the past life, so some of the personality traits by example, have intertwined with my current personality and I experience them in shifts. So you could say a theritype is you, but it can still have its own characteristics. So some people claim that a theritype has a gender because of a past life, but some people also claim that a theritype simply has a gender, even though they are psychological terms, so that therianthropy has started in a psychological way or because of a psychological cause. For example, coping mechanisms that then became natural identity, imprinting, brainwiring, trauma, and survival instinct and everything else. So this theritype doesn't have a past life, cannot have built a different personality. But basically those sociological Therians say that they have shifts related to a gender, in behaviorisms and characteristics, in how they have mating urges or how they care for their kids, for example. And some even say they have phantom limbs of sexual attributes, like antlers or a thingy down there. even though they may not have it as their human self. So yes, a theriotype might be able to have its own gender as well as its own sexual attributes that may not always be the same as your human ones. Because of a theriotype being able to have an own gender, this can influence your own gender as a human. So someone who is as a human, a physical male, may have a theriotype that is more of a female, either physically in phantom limbs and stuff like that, or sociologically more as in how they react, how they behave, their urges and their other characteristics. Okay, that is good and well, fine, go ahead, but this may actually influence each other. In this research and also in my experience, I have met a lot of Therians who have a theriotype different in gender or in physical attributes than their human physical attributes or human gender, and this might actually make them, by example, gender fluid. I've met a lot of gender fluid Therians. We say that their theriotype has in one way or another influenced how they as humans perceive their gender and themselves. What we also could see is that a few Therians also say they might be transgender because their animal gender might have influenced their human gender, but this all is just a theory. Most often we are born as this big mix and it's just figuring out what influenced what caused what was first, the egg or the chicken basically. However, likewise there are a lot of transgender Therians who say that theriotype might have an own gender but didn't influence their human gender at all. And likewise, there are also Therians who are transgender, of course, who say that theriotype does not at all have a gender, because there are Therians, even the majority of Therians say that their theriotype has no own gender, or that they simply don't know. There is also something called species dysphoria. I'll make a video really soon about this. For now, however, we'll simply say species dysphoria is dysphoria with one species. Dysphoria, general dysphoria, is defined as unhappiness and uneasiness, a general dissatisfaction with something. Anything. And likewise, species dysphoria is one of them, and not all of them have them very badly, but some of them may have them so bad they even have considered suicide because of it. Some people, but actually only very few, say that their theriotype's gender that is different from their human gender might cause extra or different kinds of species dysphoria. Most however say that it might partially influence the species dysphoria. However, a surprisingly large amount of people say they as a human experience extra gender dysphoria because of their theriotype having a different gender or different sexual attributes and not causing extra gender dysphoria, perhaps because they want to be the theriotype that has a physical body of the gender they feel they are. On therianthropic shifts, however, it's very unclear. Some people say that gender, gender dysphoria and everything else may influence how they experience their shifts. However, this is very scattered and very personal for everyone. Perhaps having gender dysphoria as a human might influence their shifts and make them feel worse or stronger, by example. Surprisingly enough, the amount of Therians who say that theriotype's gender or theriotype in general, because the research results were about the same, influence their sexuality or general who they're attracted to is about nihil. Like only very few people say it influences who they are attracted to. Now there are many more ways in which a theriotype can influence one's gender or their gender experience or their sexuality or their gender dysphoria or anything else related to this. I hope this video was a bit interesting to some of you. Again, you can find the research results in the description down below. I will link them there, you can read over them. If you're a Charel and you have a certain gender experience related to Therianthropy, please don't hesitate to leave your experience in the comment section down below. WOOF BD.
Hi, my name is Felix. I am a Therian and I identify as FTM trans and gay. Remember that being different is just what makes you human. Happy Pride Month!
Hello everyone, my name is Lawrence. I am a Therian and I identify as a gender fluid person. I just wanted to say that you're not alone out there and I wanted to wish you all a happy Pride Month.
Hi, I'm Typhoon. I am gender fluid, though I'm questioning transgender, female to male. I am homoromantic, and I am also gray asexual. My family does not accept me. They didn't accept me before. That's alright, because I have really good friends, and I have the Therian amino. They accept me, and it's great! Happy Pride Month, y'all!
Hi, my name is Rain. I am a wolf Therian and I identify as panromantic asexual.
Hi, my name is Shiva. I'm a Therian and I identify as lesbian. Don't let what others say define who you are, because that's your choice. Happy Pride Month.
Hiya, I'm Kai. I'm a Therian and a bisexual transgender. No matter what comes your way, you can overcome it, you can do it. You're the person you wanna be. No one can tell you otherwise. Happy Pride Month.
Hi, my name is Silver. I am a Silver Fox and Husky Therian, and I identify as a trans male. I identify as queer. Basically, I don't want to place labels on my sexuality, and I just want everyone to know you're valid. Anyways, Happy Pride Month!
Hi, my name's Jazzy Devil. I identify as bi-gender, but I also identify as demisexual, bi-romantic. It took me a long time to find my identity, but someone here helped with that.
Hi, I'm Vids. I'm a therian and theriotype, and I identify as a pansexual, aromantic, transgender. Whatever happens, know that there will always be someone for you. Happy Pride Month!
Hi, I'm Zeph. I'm Therian, and I identify as pan and gender fluid. No matter what anyone says, you are valid and believe in yourself. Happy Pride Month.
Hi, I'm Misty. I'm a Therian, and I identify as pansexual. Happy Pride Month!
Happy Pride Month!
Happy Pride Month!